What's up, guys? It is John, and today we are going to go over Nano Dimension's blowout revenue figures for the year of 2021. So just today, Nano Dimension revealed revenue figures for Q4 of last year, around $7 million, and a full year revenue figure of around $10 million. For the fourth quarter of last year, that is a over 250% increase from the previous year, 2020, and for the annual figures, that is almost a 200% increase from the previous $3.5 million that they did full year of 2020. Now, these figures blow all of the analyst predictions out of the water. On Yahoo Finance, there was about a $5 million full year expected revenue from Nano Dimension for last year. Nano Dimension is expected to double that figure here in the next week. With that being said, we are going to predict what could happen in Nano Dimension's stock price based on price action combined with this good news, and also try to come up with some estimates for their full year 2022 revenue figures. I'll say right off the bat, I think they will hit $20 million by the end of this year. If I'm wrong, I think it would be even more than 20 million. I don't think it'll be less than 20 million. Now, before we got into the video, guys, if you have not already, go ahead and consider liking and subscribing to the channel if you enjoy videos like these. Not only does the YouTube algorithm really like it, it also is a great way to support the channel. Now, if you would like to monetarily support the channel, a great way to do that is by using my Webull affiliate link in the description below. When you sign up using the Webull link in the description, you will get one free stock. And if you deposit into that same account, I believe it's $100, you will get another free stock. And when you do this as an affiliate, I also receive one free share. So all around, it is a win for everyone. So if you are looking for free stocks, I highly recommend you check out the Webull link in the description. Anyways, guys, let's get in the video. So Nano Dimension's approximated revenues for the fourth quarter and full year of 2021. $7 million for Q4 of last year and $10 million for the full year of 2021. This is a 255% increase over Q4 sales of the previous year, 2020, and this is a 420% increase over Q3, the previous quarter of 2021. Also, this is a 194% increase over the full year of 2020. On a preliminary basis, Nano Dimension reported unaudited, approximated consolidated revenues of $7 million for the fourth quarter ended December 31st, 2021, and $10 million for the full year ended December 31st, 2021. Unaudited consolidated cash and deposit balances as of the same date were approximately $1.355 billion. The above information reflects preliminary estimates with respect to certain results of Nano Dimension for the full year ended in December 31st of 2021 based on currently available information. Because the audit for 2021 is in its early stages, Nano Dimension's final results may vary from the preliminary estimates. So while these numbers aren't final, they should be relatively close. So if we take a visit to MarketWatch and go to Nano Dimension's financials, we can get a gauge for their annual revenue growth from 2016 up through this year. So in 2016, Nano Dimension had a measly $46,000 in revenues. If we go forward a year, this grew almost 20 times to $835,000. Fast forward one more year to 2018, we are sitting at around $5 million in sales. This is 5 times the previous year's revenue. If we go to 2019, we see a $7 million revenue, or a 40% roughly increase from the previous year. Now, we all know what happened in 2020. We had the coronavirus. COVID affected everything and is still affecting things to this day. We had a revenue figure of around $3.5 million, which is half of the 2019 figure of $7 million. So, looking at 2021 with a full year sales of $10 million puts us at around 200% almost increase from the previous year. And if you want to use COVID as an excuse, like, oh my gosh, the only reason they got $10 million and the reason it's 200% is because they had such terrible revenue figures in 2020. Well, if you want to make that claim, this is actually higher than their 2019 figure before COVID even existed. They just beat their 2019 revenues by 40%. To all the bears, Nano Dimension's revenue figures are up and to the right irrefutably. You can't argue it. Besides that, Nano Dimension's gross profit margins have been increasing as well. In 2017, as they scaled, their profit margins did fall, but from then on forward, they were increasing. From 2017 to 2018, they had a 58% gross income growth. In 2019, they had a 150% roughly gross income growth. 2020, of course, they had a huge slump, because if we look up here, we will see that revenue figures, of course, were slumped and suffered because of COVID, but a lot of these other expenses were pretty much the same besides cost of goods sold, obviously, because they're not putting as much out there. So if we were to bump this to around a $10 million figure and assumed everything is the same, guys, their operating margins are absolutely massive. So this is the trend we also want to see. On top of revenues increasing, their gross profit margins are also increasing. Now, what does all of that mean? That means they are becoming a more efficient company when it comes to producing either the machines or inks and selling it to the market. They are doing it in a more efficient or cheaper way. If we go to MarketBeat's website and go to Nano Dimension's price targets, we can see Nano Dimension versus its competitors. Now with Nano Dimension, there's not quite a figure here that's stated, but if we look to the right to the computer and technology companies, we will see an 86% upside in the computer and tech companies. And this is compared to the S&P 500's potential 16% upside. So what do you think Nano Dimension is going to do if these guys are literally undervalued in terms of book value to stock price, and the fact that their revenues and gross profit margins are also increasing by orders of magnitude? 2022 estimates are around $41.2 million for the full year sales. So if we were to get the Q4 revenue figures, and usually there's a lot more sales historically for Nano Dimension in the second half of the year. I can prove that by going to their financials again and going to the quarterly reports. As you can see, in the middle of the year, it's pretty boring, pretty slumped. But if we go to the end of the year, it starts to increase. Let's kind of make a rough estimate of where prices might be. So if Nano Dimension was able to pull in $10 million for the full year, and $7 million was in the last quarter, let's assume that they could do $7 million for Q3 and Q4 of this year, and then let's say they do half of that for Q1 and Q2. That would put them at $7 million for the first half of the year and $14 million for the second half of the year. So that would put us around $21 million in expected revenue. Now, I would label that as a very conservative figure of $21 million in revenue for the full year of 2022, especially compared to the analyst estimates here on Yahoo Finance of $41.2 million. This figure is a 724% increase over the previous $5 million expected revenue. I'm expecting somewhere closer to a 100% increase in annual revenue figures from last year into this year, just to be conservative. Now, on top of their revenues and gross profit margins getting better, we are seeing them improve on the net income side as well. From 2019 up until 2020, we saw them go from a 50-cent loss per share down to around 2 cents loss per share. That means we have a very good chance to actually be profitable this year. They did not issue any more shares for the second half of the year. They did not accumulate any new debts. So the point is they are operating really lean right now, and they're being very smart with their money. So I would not be surprised to see them actually in the positive earning figures. So looking at the 4-hour chart, you can see that as price started to fall, there wasn't too much interest at these price points between around about $5 down to around $4. Not too much volume. But as price started to approach this $3 mark, the market thought it was a good deal. So what ended up happening is there was a ton of volume, buying pressure around these price points. Now, price did end up retracing after it touched around $3.75, but it did not breach this previous low of $3. I think what that means is that the market is setting up for another bull run. Even on the short or medium term scale, it is setting itself up for a bull run. We don't know how long, but the point is that right now the market is set up for a bull run. I'll say that again. The market is set up for a bull run, especially for Nano Dimension. Now, of course, markets are irrational, so it's not guaranteed that good earnings and good revenue figures will automatically result in good stock price. What that means, though, is that we understand the company is improving and doing well. We can use that separation in sentiment between two different investors to our advantage. If you have one investor that thinks Nano Dimension is worth $1 a share, but then you have one investor that says Nano Dimension is worth $5 a share, that $4 difference is where you can probably make some of your money. What I'm saying is that if you have two people looking at the same stock and have totally different mindsets and opinions about how they perceive the stock to be valued in the future and how well the company will do, you could use that to your advantage. You guys can literally say whatever you want. It will not change my opinion on Nano Dimension. What I am looking at is the fundamentals. So if financial figures start to look bad, if leadership is changing constantly, if they're continuously diluting the company without any good reason, if ARK Invest were to, sell out of their position 100%, which right now we know they own a solid almost 10% of Nano Dimension, these are red flags I would be looking for. And the fact is that none of these have actually happened. So if you are involved in owning Nano Dimension shares, these are things you should be looking for. You should not be looking at primarily only stock price. Guys, look at the numbers. That's it. And also look at what they're doing as a company. But right now, the numbers are just incredible. But anyways, guys, that's what I have to say about Nano Dimension today. I think it's pretty exciting that they are absolutely blowing last year's estimates out of the water for their full year sales. And I think that this year going forward, they'll actually be able to show themselves out as a potentially huge company that has the potential to be, high revenues, high earnings, and, be a desirable company for anyone's portfolio. But anyways, guys, that is it for this episode on Nano Dimension. If you guys enjoyed what you were watching, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget about your 2 free stocks in the Webull link in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.